What is going on, everybody? I am Mac, back with another video as this is premiering the day before Thanksgiving. Thank you all for tuning in. As always, do me a favor, like, comment, subscribe, follow on Instagram. Link is in the box below. As I said, I am recording this Tuesday night, but it is premiering on Wednesday, and I just want to say happy Thanksgiving to everybody here. Hope you enjoy your holidays, safe travels if you're going out of state or if you're going somewhere in general. But yeah, happy Thanksgiving. And for those people that are in my tournament, I would really appreciate, it would be greatly appreciated by me if you guys could get at least your Thanksgiving Day picks by Thursday morning. I'll have plenty of time over the weekend to get the rest of your guys' picks, but I would really appreciate if I could get your Thanksgiving Day picks on Thursday by Thursday morning because I got a lot of stuff to do with Thanksgiving. So yeah, really all there is to it right there. I had a pretty okay week. I could have done better, but I'm not complaining about a 9-5 week. Puts me at 107-57 on the season. So the good season continues. The only one that I really regret was my upset, but I was confident at the time. The Philly Kansas City game I won't complain about either because, I thought that game could go either way. But I won't complain about 9-5. But yeah, nobody has a bye this week. All 32 teams are playing. And let's get on to it. No, I don't want to waste any more time. I'm going to try and get through these picks as fast as I can. So let's get on to it. These are my Week 12 picks of the 2021, second week in a row I did that. The 2023 NFL season. Let's get on to it. As always, Thanksgiving afternoon in Detroit. A yearly tradition where the Lions play the Green Bay Packers on Thursday, Thanksgiving afternoon. I kind of knew the Lions were going to be playing a division rival. They usually do play a division rival on Thanksgiving. Minnesota was actually my first guess, but Green Bay was my second guess. But yeah, Packers and the Lions. So Green Bay, they're coming off a pretty impressive win over the Chargers where Jordan Love actually turned in possibly the best game of his career so far. And they just hung in there well with LA and they got the job done over them they got the job done over them. But I think Aaron Jones actually got hurt in the game. I don't know the status of him, but losing Aaron Jones once again can hurt Green Bay pretty big. And then you got the Lions. They are notorious for losing Thanksgiving Day games. I think they've lost their last 6 Thanksgiving Day games actually. But the Lions have just made a lot of significant strides. I mean, they're 8-2 on the season. You want to know when the last time the Lions were 8-2 prior to this season? Let me tell you, John F. Kennedy was president all the way back in 1962. That was the last time Detroit started a season 8-2. So, I mean, it's just the Lions, they're playing great football, and it just shows you how resilient and how far this franchise has come from, what they were supposed to, from what they were a couple years ago. Green Bay, they are second in the pass, so I really don't expect Jared Goff to be a big factor in this game, but they are bottom 5 when it comes to the rush defense. That's how we were able to carve them up a couple weeks ago. So I expect Gibbs and Montgomery to have big games for Detroit on Thursday afternoon. So I think Green Bay's coming off that win. I think it's kind of emotional for them, and I think for the second year in a row, the Lions complete the sweep of the Packers. I just think Detroit has a ton of momentum. I love the direction they're headed, and I just think they're overall the better team. I'm going to go Detroit to get the job done over the Packers on Thanksgiving and snap that losing streak on Thanksgiving. Then we got the late afternoon Thanksgiving Day game, and again, it's a yearly tradition as the Dallas Cowboys take on the Washington Redskins on Thanksgiving, as I don't get Washington at all. I mean, they can go toe-to-toe with Philly, and they can go toe-to-toe with Seattle. not beat them, but they can go toe-to-toe with them and they can hold their own against them. But they get swept by the Giants. They got destroyed by a Goodfellas character in Tommy DeVito. I don't get Washington at all. Sam Howell had a terrible game. Well, maybe not terrible. He had a rough day. And get this, despite losing, Washington sacked the Giants 9 times in a loss. How do you even recover from that? I just don't know. The Dallas Cowboys predictably blew out the Carolina Panthers 33-10. Defense was incredible once again. Offense got everything going. And the Cowboys, they're kind of Jekyll and Hyde when it comes to Thanksgiving. One year they win, the next year they lose. And I think they lost last year on Thanksgiving. So I'm actually going to go ahead and say the Cowboys get the job done here. I think maybe Washington can hang in there a little bit, but I think that the defense that Dallas has, and especially with the way Sam Howell keeps getting sacked, I think that's going to be too much for them. So I'm going to go with the Dallas Cowboys to get the job done over Washington on Thanksgiving afternoon. And then we got my personal rivalry of the week as it's Thanksgiving night in Seattle, where the 49ers take on the Seahawks. Rematch of last year's wildcard game where the 49ers beat the Seahawks 3 times. And this is still a really good matchup when you take a look at both teams on paper. 49ers still got that great defense. They look well rested and rejuvenated since their bye week. They've won both their games in dominant fashion, in my opinion. But the 49ers, they're going to be without Ufunga for the rest of the season as he tore his ACL. So that's a really big blow right there for the 49ers. I think that they're able to play through it, and I think that they'll be okay, but wow, they can't take something like that lightly. I mean, losing Ufunga like that is definitely going to hurt. But the Seahawks, I mean, they're severely undermanned coming into this game as well. Geno Smith is actually questionable for this game, but Pete Carroll says that he is confident that Geno Smith can play. Walker, I think he's dealing with an oblique injury. Lockett and Adams are also questionable as well. So the Seahawks, they are pretty undermanned coming into Thursday night. And I think, going up against a physical team like San Francisco like that, you got to be at full strength and you got to be able, you got to be able to throw your best at their best. I mean, the best kind of ability is availability, and with the Seahawks being down players like that, it's just a big advantage for San Francisco. So I think Charbonnet needs to be an X factor for the Seahawks in this game, and I think he's capable of doing it. But I got to be honest, I mean, the 49ers, they're picking up where they left off to start off the season. And I think with Seattle, like I said, with Seattle just being undermanned and the 49ers just continuing to get on that roll, I got to go San Francisco on this one. The 49ers, they're going to be they're just going to be all kinds of physical for Seattle in this one. Brock Purdy is playing really well once again. And just overall, I think San Francisco's just the better constructed team here. Seahawks are just a little inconsistent, especially with defense. Like, there are moments where the Seahawks defense looks really good, and then there's just moments where it just looks real bad. You never know what you're going to get with Seattle's defense, and especially with the way they led up against the Rams and got swept by them. And it just doesn't get easier. But I'm going to go San Francisco to get the job done over the Seahawks on Thanksgiving night. For the first time ever, we got a Black Friday game, as it is the Miami Dolphins and the New York Jets going at it in MetLife. As I said, this is on Black Friday. First time that's ever happened. So the Dolphins, they're coming off a win over the Raiders, but they didn't really dominate them like a lot of people said. They actually had some trouble against Vegas at some points, but regardless, the Dolphins were able to come away with a win, and at this juncture of the season, you got to take wins however they come. So Miami's still on top of the AFC East. New York Jets, they got manhandled by the Buffalo Bills, and I'm starting to think that I gave the Jets way too much credit because yes, I like them defensively. Yes, I like the run game they got, but the fact is they can maintain opponents and be physical with them defensively, but it just seems like they're always going to get let down by Zach Wilson. Zach Wilson is holding this team back, and I know it's not really his fault because of Aaron Rodgers' injury, but now with them rolling with Tim Boyle in this game, I really don't know how the Jets are going to be able to be competitive in this one. So this is actually going to be my lock of the week right here. Miami is just head and shoulders a better team than the Jets at this point. And with throwing Tim Boyle in against this Dolphins team to where we don't know if he can really gunsling it like Tua can. Like I said in my entry last week for the Chargers and Packers, even though Green Bay won, to face a prolific, high-scoring offense, you got to be able to put points up on the board yourself. And regardless at this point who starts between Tim Boyle and Zach Wilson, I just don't see the Jets doing it. So Miami, I'm taking them easily. They're my lock of the week here. Sunday slate of games. Kicking things off, we got a pretty tricky one, in my opinion. New Orleans Saints and the Atlanta Falcons going at it in Atlanta. Both teams are coming off their bye, so I think there's not really an advantage for either team in this one. And they both technically play in domed stadiums too. So both are coming off their bye, both play in domed stadiums. Make your pick right here. But with me, I think it comes down to the team that's more confident offensively and the team that has just more of a definition offensively. Sure, Desmond Ridder is named the starter for the rest of the season for Atlanta, but Desmond Ridder and Arthur Smith, that's just not a good combination and a good, formula for success offensively, as I think those are the two components that are really holding Atlanta back, and it really showed in their last game against the Arizona Cardinals. Atlanta can limit you defensively. I think that they're a stout defensive team, but kind of like some other teams in the league, the defense is eventually going to get tired if your offense can't spot you, some breathing room. So with me, I think the New Orleans Saints are actually the more defined offensive team in this one. Even though Derek Carr is still in concussion protocol, there is a slight chance that he can play in this game depending on how he is because he's had the bye week to recover from it a little bit more. But overall, I take a look at the Saints offensively. They just seem like a little more, like I said, a little more confident offensively than Atlanta is. So I'm actually going to go with the Saints. Typically, in a situation like this where I don't know who to pick, I go home team. But I just think the Saints have the upper hand in this one, in my personal opinion. So I'm going to go New Orleans on this one. All right, folks. Next up, we got my matchup. And yes, I'm actually smiling in this entry for once. Pittsburgh Steelers, Cincinnati Bengals, down in Paul Brown Stadium. Yes, I still call it Paul Brown Stadium. Steelers and the Bengals. As the Steelers, we all know the great news that happened on Tuesday morning. Matt Canada, he gone. They fired Matt Canada. Eddie Faulkner is going to be the interim offensive coordinator for the time being, which I'm going to get more of this in my preview video on Black Friday. Here's my thing about Eddie Faulkner, right? He's our running backs coach, by the way, but here's my thing with it. As long as he's just interim OC for the rest of the season, and then he goes back to being the running backs coach, I'm okay with it. I'm not in love with it, but I'm okay with it. Okay? I kind of figured that's what the Steelers were going to do anyway. I'm still an advocate of give Byron Leftwich an opportunity because he reached out to the organization a month ago. But Eddie Faulkner is the interim OC for the rest of the season. I guess, I'm just not fretting about it. But I think the next thing that needs to happen with the Pittsburgh Steelers is either Kenny Pickett gets benched because I still don't think he's the guy. Just because you fired Matt Canada, that doesn't change my stance on Kenny Pickett, and give Mason Rudolph his opportunity, because Mason Rudolph did start against the Bengals back in 2019. He lit them up on Monday Night Football. Granted, the Bengals were tanking back then, and they were like the worst team in the league back then. But still, give Mason Rudolph his opportunity. And I think after that, I know you're really not going to like hearing this, all you non-Steeler fans. The next coach that needs to go, Tomlin. After that, Terrell Austin. Because if you're serious right now where you get rid of your offensive coordinator, the first time that the Pittsburgh Steelers have made a coaching change mid-season, not even mid-season, during the season. Get this. This is the first time the Steelers have done something like that since 1941. That's right, 82 years ago. That was the last time the Steelers made a coaching change during the season. So, if you're serious right now about making a coaching change, Tomlin and Austin need to go. I'm dead serious. Okay? It was an embarrassing game in Cleveland. You lose 13-10. Kenny Pickett sucked up the joint once again. And, of course, that 2-minute offense, I guess you can say it like that, where the play calling was just horrendous. You got Jaylen Warren, who carved up the Browns all day. You don't even give him a touch. Just an inexcusable way to lose. The defense did everything they could to win that game for us again, so people can go like, oh, Kenny Clutch does it again, when it really would have been the defense's doing. But, like I said, Kenny Pickett sucked. Matt Canada sucked. At least one of them are gone now. So that's the story with the Steelers. The Bengals, last Thursday, dropped into the Ravens, but they lost more than the game. Joe Burrow, done for the season with the torn ligament. They will be rolling with Jake Browning for this game, and I believe for the rest of the season as well. So the Bengals, I mean, their playoff hopes just took like a massive nosedive right now, because now they are 11th in the AFC when it comes to the standings. So the Bengals, I mean, wow. They went from Super Bowl contenders to, it's looking like a very distinct possibility that they can miss the playoffs altogether. Now, typically in matchups like this, I give the advantage to the team that played Thursday night. And while I absolutely won't deny that Mike Tomlin absolutely plays down to rookie quarterbacks, backup quarterbacks, scrub QBs, you name it, because now the Steelers lose to DTR, who was a rookie, and this is now the second rookie QB the Steelers have lost to this season. First time they did that since 2016, where they lost to rookie Carson Wentz and rookie Dak Prescott. So I think Jake Browning's a rookie. I'm not sure if he is. I know he's Cincinnati's backup. But hey, remember the last time the Bengals had Ryan Finley go against us? That just proves my point even more. Tomlin always plays down to backup quarterbacks or scrub quarterbacks. So that's why I'm not feeling 100% confident going into Cincinnati, despite the fact that Joe Burrow is out. I think Joe Mixon needs to have the bulk of the carry for the Bengals. He needs to have about at least 20 touches in the game. And the Bengals, they got to play our defense kind of similarly the way the Browns did, because there was no pass rush. There was hardly a pass rush against Cleveland, but looking back on it, it was because Kevin Stefanski game planned around it, and he played our defense very smart, where the game plan was for DTR to get rid of the ball as quickly as possible. I think Zach Taylor is going to implement something like that for Jake Browning in this game. So even though the Bengals are well rested, and I absolutely understand anyone that still wants to pick the Bengals for this game, I'm going to give my guys one last chance. This game right here and next week against Arizona, and well, basically these next 3 games for us, these are probably the last times that I'm probably going to pick the Steelers and pick them. I mean, this season alone, I picked against the Steelers a lot this season alone. This has to be like a record for the most times I picked against the Steelers in a single season. But I'm giving them one last chance. If they drop this game, okay, I might not pick the Steelers for the rest of the season. Even though we do have a new OC. Well, we don't have a new OC. We just have an interim OC. But you get the point. I'm going to take the Steelers to win this game. I think it's going to be a low-scoring defensive game. Not a lot of points being put on the board. And let's just see what happens with Eddie Faulkner. But I am going to give the Steelers one last chance here to get the job done over the Bengals. More in my preview Friday. Then we got the Carolina Panthers and the Tennessee Titans going at it in Nashville. The Titans, I think they have a huge advantage in this game because they're coming off playing 3 straight road games where they lost all 3 of them. If you want to count the London game, by all means, go ahead. But the Titans were technically the home team in that game. Tennessee is 0-6 on the road this season. When the Titans don't play in Nashville this season, they're 0-6. And they still have not won a road game since that Packer game last year in Lambeau. So I think the Titans are definitely going to be happy that they're home. They're playing the Carolina Panthers, who have the worst record in the league, and they're coming off getting their doors blown off by the Dallas Cowboys. I think Tennessee gets the job done here. I think that Will Levis is going to come in with some confidence going up against that Carolina defense here. And I think Derrick Henry can have a get-it-right game for the Titans in this one. Carolina, I just don't know if I can pick them for the rest of the season. They're a really bad team. So I'm going to go Tennessee to get the job done here over Carolina. Then we got the Buccaneers and the Colts going at it in Indianapolis as the Bucs, they previously beat Tennessee. I almost said they beat Tennessee last week, but they previously beat Tennessee. But the Bucs got a taste of their own medicine with that game, as last week they lost by double digits to the 49ers in San Francisco. As the Bucs, they just continue to slide down the standings in the NFC South. They went from a team that I thought could low-key make a run in the NFC to pretty much looking like how I thought they'd be at the beginning of the season. So the Bucs are just not playing good football. The Colts, I think, are getting off on a right track. And if you look at Indianapolis's remaining schedule, they have a lot of winnable games coming up. So I don't think the Colts are necessarily out of it. They're starting to play better on offense. I think the defense still needs a little bit of work. But yeah, I mean, it looks like the Colts are accepting the challenge real well with losing Anthony Richardson for the rest of the season. And they're playing really well. They're doing the best they can. However, just like with the Saints and the Falcons, the Bucs and the Colts are also coming off, I just said duh. But the Colts are coming off their bye week, so they're fully rested for this one, and they're returning home. I think that's the biggest advantage for this one, and I'm going to go Indianapolis to get the job done over the Bucs. I like the momentum they got. I like the offense that they're playing right now. Tampa Bay's just way too inconsistent, so I'm going to go with the Colts to get the job done over the Bucs. Oh boy, why does this matchup exist? This is bar none my toilet bowl of the week. You know, it's funny. Years ago, these two franchises met in 2 Super Bowls. Now they're meeting in a toilet bowl. The Patriots and the Giants at MetLife. New England has the worst record in the AFC at 2-8, and they're coming off their bye week. While the Giants, like I mentioned in my Redskins Cowboys entry, they blew out Washington 31-19. Tommy DeVito threw 3 touchdowns against Washington. Granted, Washington doesn't really have a great defense because they pretty much sold their defense at the deadline. But I think one thing that steers me to picking somebody in this game and more of a clear-cut decision is that the Patriots, they do have a good defense and they have a better defense than Washington does. And I think it's more so that the Giants just always beat Washington. But then again, they did beat the Patriots twice in the Super Bowl in the Tom Brady era. So it's like you can see my conflict for this one. I really don't know who to go with. Do I think that the Giants have newfound life with Tommy DeVito? Or do I think that New England, coming off their bye, can they gain some more momentum and, take advantage of a Giants team that just had like their 15 minutes of fame against Washington? I think I'm going to go more for the latter in that scenario because I'll give Mac Jones a little bit of credit. He has been playing a little bit better, but nothing like great. And I think I trust New England's defense more than I trust the Giants' offense. I mean, sure, Saquon Barkley definitely needs to anchor that Giants' offense, but how much do you really trust it? Plus, the Giants have not won consecutive games this season, so I think that's going to be another factor for this one. Do I think the Giants' defense can step up? Yes, but the Giants' defense is starting to become hit and miss. They played well defensively for a couple weeks, but then they, started to play poorly defensively again, and I don't know what phase they're in right now. Again, typically I go home team, but I'm going to go with the team that I think has slightly more of an identity, and I think in this case it might be the Patriots. So this might be the last time I take New England for the rest of the season. Like I said, I've said a couple of times in weeks prior that the next time I pick New England, it might be against the Giants, and I'm sticking by that, but this might be the last time I take the Patriots for the rest of the season. So I guess give me New England. I really don't give a crap about this game. Well, how about this right here? Would you believe that 2 years ago, these two teams were two of the worst teams in the NFL, and now they're meeting in what very well could be the best game of the week? The Jacksonville Jaguars and the Houston Texans going at it in Houston. This was really close to being my rivalry of the week, but like I usually say, primetime games take precedence on my list, so that's why I gave the slight nod to the 49ers and Seahawks. But Jags-Texans, you would not be wrong in saying that that's the rivalry of the week either, because there are first place implications on the line for this game as well. Jacksonville, they are coming off a dominant win over the Tennessee Titans, while the Texans, they got the job done over Arizona, but C.J. Stroud really struggled in that one. He threw 3 picks against Arizona. Still, they got the job done, but C.J. Stroud struggled a little bit. With this matchup here, I think it's going to come down to who I trust more with the football at the end. Because let's face it, Jacksonville, defensively, outside of Josh Allen, I really don't know if I can fully trust him defensively, because you take a look at that 49er game they had a couple weeks ago, got shredded by San Francisco. Granted, the 49ers are a great team, and Jacksonville got off to a slow start at the beginning. Then they hit a nice winning streak, but it kind of seems like Jacksonville's going back into that phase to where they play well, then they hit a bump in the road, and you don't really know what Jags team you're going to get next. So Jacksonville's a little inconsistent with their own as well. Houston defensively, they're getting some patchwork up done defensively, but I just don't think they're quite there yet. And at this point, with C.J. Stroud, who definitely has my vote for Offensive Rookie of the Year, I think like I said, it comes down to who I trust more with the football at the end. C.J. Stroud has at least 2 game-winning drives, and he had them in back-to-back weeks against the Bengals and the Buccaneers, I believe. So Jacksonville is favored for this game, But I'm going to go Houston for this one. I don't know if I can really call this an upset because I think this game can go either way. I think these are two really good teams going at it. And I just like Houston a little bit more. I think they have the upper hand in this one. Despite CJ Stroud coming off a bad week, I think it's a get it right game for him. Plus the Texans, they just always seem to have Jacksonville's number. So I like Houston's chances at completing the sweep of the Jags, and so much so that this will be my spread of the week. Jacksonville's favored, but I'm going to take Houston to win it 29-25. Obviously, the Texans get the cover if I'm predicting that they win. So give me Houston to win a good one over the Jaguars. Later slate of Sunday games, we got an intriguing one in my opinion. The Cleveland Browns and the Denver Broncos going at it in Mile High. As the Browns, we all know they beat us 13-10 last Sunday. Dorian Thompson-Robinson gets his first career win against the Steelers. But with Cleveland defensively, they're playing really... I mean, Cleveland has the best defense in the league. Statistically, they do. But I really don't know how they can keep this up offensively. I think if Deshaun Watson played in this game, Cleveland would have a better chance to produce offensively. But Deshaun Watson, like we all know, he's going to miss the rest of the season with his shoulder surgery. So I think, Cleveland, in order to have any chance in this one, they just got to keep using what got them there, which is running the ball. Jerome Ford's looked pretty good. And then Kareem Hunt in his return with Cleveland has put up some decent numbers. But Denver, they're an interesting bunch as well. The Broncos have won 3 straight games. All of a sudden, they're right back in the mix of the playoff hunt as the Broncos beat Minnesota on Sunday night. By the way, I just want to say, that was my first Sunday night game that I've lost all season. I'm 10-1 with Sunday night football games this year. So that was my first Sunday night game that I dropped. Anyway, Denver's defense, with the exception of weeks 2 and 3, obviously has played very well. The Broncos' defense is tough, physical. You saw it when they were getting up in Josh Dobbs' face all night Sunday night. And they can definitely cause some turnovers like they did on Sunday night as well. The Browns, the biggest and I think you know where I'm going with this, okay? Cleveland actually leads the leagues in giveaways this year. And them going up against Denver, who can definitely cause turnovers, I am making this my upset of the week. That's right. I am now hopping on the Broncos train. Even though Denver is favored in this one, I still think the Broncos winning would be an upset. I just think that I like the momentum they got. Cleveland, I think, will definitely limit them defensively as well. This is going to be a low-scoring defensive game. Even though Kareem Jackson is suspended for the Broncos, I really do think the Broncos can come in and they can definitely beat Cleveland at their own game here. Russell Wilson starting to make better decisions with the football. Sean Payton starting to mold with him better. And Cortland Sutton is an absolute stud. So, plus, Denver, other than Pittsburgh, just seems to be the Browns' house of horrors. The Browns have had a lot of infamous moments in Denver, and I think that trend will continue. I'm going to go with the Denver Broncos to get the job done in my upset of the week over the Cleveland Browns.
It's a trap!
This is my trap game of the week. Second week in a row the Rams have been involved in my trap game of the week. We got the Rams and the Cardinals going at it in Arizona. The Rams completed the sweep of the Seahawks. They are 4-6. But the reason why this is my trap game of the week, one of them at least, Cooper Kupp left that game with an ankle injury. He is listed day-to-day, so there is a chance that he can play Sunday. But if I'm a Rams fan, I am definitely not taking that injury lightly at all with Cooper Kupp. That being said, his first game back of the season was against these Arizona Cardinals weeks prior, and he had the best game of his season as the Rams got back on track and it looked like that they would make a push in the NFC. But the Rams have hit a bump in the road, but a win against a good Seahawks team like that can be a big confidence booster. Arizona, they hung in there with the Houston Texans and only lost by 5. And even though Arizona is 2-9 on the season, I just keep saying it with them. They're a bunch of fighters. They have been competitive in a lot of their games this year. And with the way they lost to the Rams back, earlier in the season, Arizona, I honestly think, has a decent chance at pulling off the upset here. Kyler Murray is back and acclimated with the Cardinals right here, and I think he's picking up where they left off because I kept saying, hey, Kyler gives Arizona the best chance at winning. So that's why this is my trap game of the week. However, I think the Rams avoid it, and I think they get the job done. There's a reason the Rams are only favored by 1, and that's it right there. Because of Cooper Kupp may or may not being able to play. And plus with Kyler Murray and with the dogfight that the Cardinals have in them. So I am going to go with the Rams, but I would not be surprised if Arizona pulls off the upset. I'm just being completely honest with you. Next, we got the Kansas City Chiefs and the Las Vegas Raiders going at it in Vegas. To keep it short and sweet, I'm going to go Kansas City. They dropped it on Monday night to Philly in heartbreaking fashion. This is a get-it-right game. Other than the second Bronco game this year, Patrick Mahomes just does not lose on the road against the AFC West. He always lights up the Raiders. And the Raiders, even though I will give them credit, Antonio Pierce does seem to be a good fit for the Raiders head coach, as the players seem to like playing for him more. It's just not going to be enough to go against Kansas City. I'm going to go with the Chiefs. They are coming in incredibly pissed off in this one. I don't see them dropping 2 in a row. I'm going to go Kansas City. This was close to being my lock of the week until I saw how the Jets played against the Buffalo Bills and how the Raiders played against the Miami Dolphins and how the Chiefs dropped it to the Philadelphia Eagles. And speaking of the Philadelphia Eagles, we got another really good matchup right here. Bills and the Eagles going at it in Philly. Well, the Bills, they fired Ken Dorsey after dropping it to Denver a week and a half ago on Monday night. Joe Brady comes in as the interim OC, and it looks like the Bills have some new life on offense as they blew out the Jets. They look like the Bills team that everybody thought that they'd be, but they have a tough test going into Philly to play the defending champs as the Eagles won the Super Bowl 57 rematch over Kansas City by way pretty much of, guess what, a tush-push touchdown by Jalen Hurts. And the Eagles have the best record in the NFL at 9-1, and I do think that at this point they are the best team in the NFL. I see a big bounce back week for AJ Brown, as the Bills, they are good, but even though they have some new revitalizations on that offense right there with an interim OC, I still have my suspicions about Buffalo, mainly because of the injuries that they've sustained this year. And like I said earlier in one of my entries, I don't remember which one it was, in order to go toe-to-toe with a high-scoring offensive team like Philly is, I mean, you just got to be 100% healthy. That's really all there is to it. Buffalo, I really don't know if they are 100% healthy, and I just don't really know if I can trust them at this juncture. However, they do have an advantage in this one, and it's because the Eagles have a bottom 5 pass defense. Philly's pass defense has looked very off this year, and I really don't know if I can trust Philly with the rush defense at this point either, but Buffalo doesn't really, strike me as a team that'll run the ball down your throat. They are a very aerial-based team right there. So I think this definitely is a bounce back game candidate for Josh Allen here. But it's also a big bounce back game candidate for A.J. Brown, like I said. So I definitely think the Bills will give Philly a good game. But because the Eagles are the home team and because they got momentum on their side, I'm going to roll with the Philadelphia Eagles to keep it going, to improve to 10-1. I just think that they're overall the better team heading into this one, while Buffalo, I just don't know if I can fully trust them, at least right now. But I am going to go with the Philadelphia Eagles to get the job done. Then Sunday Night Football, we got the Baltimore Ravens and the Los Angeles Chargers going at it in LA. Ravens last played Thursday night. They got the job done over the Bengals. However, the Ravens did lose Mark Andrews for the rest of the season with a torn ACL. And Lamar has played in my opinion, his best football since his MVP season in 2019. But now they lose Mark Andrews for the rest of the season. He was Lamar's biggest target. He was the guy who he targeted the most. So my question for this one is, how do the Ravens, or how does Lamar, recover from that? And how does he fill the void with it? I think my biggest fill-in and my biggest candidate for that is going to be Zay Flowers. I think that opens up the door for Zay Flowers in this matchup here, because you take a look at the Chargers. It is inexcusable how this team is 4-6. They lose another one-possession game despite all that Justin Herbert could do, and they're dead last in pass defense. The Ravens, they have injuries on defense as well, but I say it doesn't really matter. Until the Chargers prove to me that they can beat a strong team and they can beat a team that is making a push for the playoffs, because it just disgusts me to say right now that the Ravens are the number one seed in the AFC. I mean, sure, it's mostly because they haven't had their bye week yet, but still, they won the games necessary to get into that position. I'm going to go Baltimore here. I just do not trust the Chargers at this point. I do trust Justin Herbert, but I don't trust the Chargers as a whole. It's funny how Matt Canada got fired before Brandon Staley did. But I'm going to go Baltimore to get the job done, to improve to, 9-3? So yeah, unfortunately, give me the Ravens. Wrapping up Week 12, we got the Chicago Bears and the Minnesota Vikings going at it on Monday Night Football. Kind of seems like these two always have a Monday night game with each other. I will say the Bears, they might be able to put up a little bit of a fight in this one because Justin Fields was back and he played really hard. I'll give him credit. I'm a big critic of Justin Fields because I don't think he's really worth all that hype. But his speed was a big X factor in the Bears game for why the Bears just completely imploded, but Justin Fields was not it. It's because Chicago's defense just sucks. Minnesota, they lost a tough one on Sunday night to the Broncos. Josh Dobbs, he did all that he could, but just going up against that tough Denver defense like that, he did what he could. The Bears just don't have a defense, period. They just have a terrible defense. Sure, they can put some points on the board offensively, but I love the story that Josh Dobbs has been doing for Minnesota this year. Pretty much what he's been doing general, because he's played for the Cardinals as well. So I just think Minnesota overall is just the better constructed team here. I think that they are going to come in trying to start another streak, and I just don't have any hope with the Chicago Bears to pick them to win another game. I don't know if I can pick them to win another game, to be honest with you. So I'm going to go Minnesota to break out of that funk, and I don't think they got to worry too much about a strong pass rush. So I'm going to go with the Vikings to get the job done over the Chicago Bears. That'll do it. Those are my Week 12 picks of 2023. And once again, tourney members, if you could just get your Thanksgiving Day picks at the very least by Thursday morning. Again, it's greatly appreciated. I'll get the rest of your picks over the weekend. I'll have time to do it, but Thanksgiving's always busy for me. Like I said, I wish you guys all a very blessed and safe Thanksgiving. Enjoy it. Be with your family. Eat lots of turkey. Watch football. And that's what I'm most thankful for, is just being on here and doing my content and getting all the receptions that I've had from every one of you guys here. Be well, everybody. Happy Thanksgiving. I am Mac, and I am gone.